October 31st almost felt like a trip back in time this year as Halloween made a comeback with COVID-19 restrictions loosening. Ghosts and goblins took to city streets, but not before a month of festivities. Most families participated in trick-or-treating again this year, but with added precautions in place. All levels of government said Halloween could take place this year after it was cancelled in certain regions of Ontario last year, including Ottawa. Dr. Brett Malotny, Ottawa's Deputy Medical Officer of Health, said similar precautions to what we follow daily should be applied to keep the risk of COVID transmission low.
Basically, for any sort of social get-together, whether it's Halloween or not, I mean, the same principles are in play in terms of wanting to reduce the risk of transmission. I mean, COVID hasn't gone away. So if one is having an indoor get-together, or whether it's at a restaurant or indoors where people are going to be eating and drinking without a mask on, then if it's an option to do it outdoors, that would be a safer option. If it's indoors, then ideally all people would be vaccinated.
For many kids, this was also their first time with a proper trick-or-treating experience. Last year was cancelled in Ottawa due to the province declaring the city a hotspot for the virus, and the year before it was a total washout with a torrential rainstorm. And after 2 years of almost no Halloween, residents right across Ottawa wanted to do what they could to make this October 31st special for kids right across the city. More houses than ever decorated the outside of their homes, and stores sold out of Halloween candy. Multiple websites posted maps of where the hottest Halloween houses in Ottawa were, including this one on Mount Shannon Drive in Barrhaven, which decided to start the day's festivities early for anyone who wasn't comfortable being in a crowd. They even had a photo booth set up for memories to be made. And this house on nearby Beatrice went all out with a neighborhood graveyard and light display, which made for a spooky night of trick-or-treating. The owners say they have been putting on this display for years, and it's always a hit for people of all ages. And finally, this house on Larkin Drive didn't want to go unnoticed with its collection of spooky dolls and dim purple lights. They had to shut their lights off early because they ran out of candy. That was a situation many households were in with what many labeled as a COVID candy shortage. Days before Halloween, the shelves were bare at many stores around suburban Ottawa. We traveled to 7 big box stores and grocery stores looking for any supply of Halloween candy, but they were all out. Even the suckers and lollipops were gone. For some who waited until the last minute, they were forced to give out fruit snacks instead. But while trick-or-treating was a go this year, safety precautions were still put in place. Ottawa Public Health urged interactions to be brief and also suggested people get creative with how they handed out candy.
Now, if you're choosing to give out treats, keep interactions with trick-or-treaters brief. Wear a face covering when physical distancing cannot be maintained. Don't set out a communal bowl for children to reach into, and consider contactless candy distribution by using tongs. And clean your hands often throughout the evening using soap and water or hand sanitizer, and particularly before you touch your face.
And when it came to costumes, kids again were told to be creative. Canada thankfully did not see a supply chain shortage like much of the United States did, but some of the costume trends were hard to find. And because the pandemic still isn't over and many children aren't able to be vaccinated, masks were strongly encouraged while trick-or-treating. Public health officials urge people to find innovative ways to incorporate a medical standard mask into their Halloween look, and noted a costume mask wasn't protective enough.
For the trick-or-treaters, be creative. Build the face covering into your costume, but remember, a costume mask is not a substitute for a face covering. Do not crowd the doorway, and use hand sanitizer often, especially before touching your face. And for everyone, continue daily screening before and after your event.
Now this really was a much more normal Halloween than I think most of us probably anticipated. As we were out and about in the community this evening, we saw literally hundreds of children going door to door trick-or-treating. But that really does seem to vary depending on where you live within the city. Many people on Twitter said they ran out of candy in literally minutes, whereas others said they didn't have a single child come knocking at their door this Halloween. Charlie Siak, GYN News, Ottawa.